Let's go to meteorologist Tamara Berg after this cool down is upon us, and I know a lot of us are probably enjoying it.
Yeah, look at this. We're down into the 50s right now, top of the 6 o'clock hour. When's the last time we had those numbers drop down into the 50s? It's been a couple of days, right? We have 57 right now in Yuba City, 59 in Sacramento, 57 back and down there in Fairfield. 56 this morning in Stockton, 60 for Modesto, and 68 waking up to start your Wednesday in Placerville. Across the region, especially in the valley and closer in through the foothills, we've noticed a big drop off in those temperatures. We're 6 to 8 degrees cooler in Stockton and Modesto, 5 degrees down this morning in Yuba City, and even 5 degrees cooler this morning for Placerville. It's that onshore breeze that's really helping to bring in some of the cool air from the coast. Right now it's steady at 24 miles per hour coming through Fairfield. We feel that south wind steadily at 9 miles an hour in Sacramento, and the wind right now lackluster in Stockton, but it's picking up there in through Modesto at 10 miles an hour out of the north to northwest. You also see the view here as you look at the satellite landscape over the last 3 hours. You'll notice that marine there has really expanded in the overnight, and some of that fog is pushing into the coastal hills and really kind of on the fringe there as you look off towards the hills and west of Fairfield this morning. While we may see even some low clouds work into Sacramento Valley, I do expect that through the daytime today it's going to run much cooler than where we've been in the past 24 hours. Modesto, Stockton area getting into the upper 70s around lunchtime. Daytime high reaches about 86 degrees. Coming up in my full forecast, we do have some heat to talk about by the back half of the week, and I'll walk you through it in just a little bit. 6:02 is the time if you're heading out on the roadways. Brian, any hiccups for our travelers this morning?
Well, so far, if you're coming in Interstate 80 from Rockland all the way into downtown, it's going to be a nice ride. We're incident free along the stretch there, as this is at Rockland Road. As you can see, traffic starting to pick up, and you make your way out that way. Westbound Interstate 80 just outside of Vacaville as you make your way towards Highway 12 and towards the truck scales there. We have a crash with a big rig in a vehicle. It's over the right-hand shoulder, but still a little bit of slowing there, and that was subsequent to an earlier crash that was right near the truck scales. So again, just watch out for a little bit of congestion in that area. Highway 50, no issues. Interstate 80, like I showed you with the camera there, and then Cap City Freeway all in the green this morning. 5 and 99, no delays coming up out of Elk Grove. It's looking like a nice ride that way with everything running at the limit. 5 and 99 through Stockton, no problems there. Crosstown Freeway looking good this morning. And then 99 just picked up a crash on the northbound side. Still doesn't appear to be causing much of a delay. We're at 13 minutes right now from Modesto to Manteca. Vehicles over to the right-hand shoulder. 205 is a 29-minute ride through the Tracy Triangle, and now 30 minutes over the Altamont Pass on 580 with a wind advisory posted for that area. Highway 50, a 10-minute ride out of Rancho Cordova, 9 minutes on Interstate 80, Roseville to the Split, and 11 minutes out of Elk Grove on 5 and 99. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. New this morning, 2 people were pulled from a vehicle after it crashed into a power pole in Sacramento. Happened around 1:45 this morning at the intersection of El Camino Avenue and Walnut Avenue. Here's the scene. A truck just mangled there after the crash. The tow truck driver tells us at one point that truck was completely wrapped around that power pole. Highway Patrol says 2 people were inside. Both were extricated, and they were taken to the hospital with what the CHP describes as major injuries. The cause of the crash is not known.
This morning, Sacramento City Manager has the power to select safe ground sites in the city without the City Council's approval. This is new. After hours of discussion regarding the homeless crisis in the city, the council voted 5-4 in favor of the plan. The mayor says he hopes giving this authority to the city manager speeds up the process of getting people the help and housing they need.
Authorize the city manager to be able to make these siting decisions is controversial, it's difficult, but in my view, under this system, it's the only way to make real progress, because we must find alternatives for people. There are too many tent encampments throughout our entire city.
Some council members expressed concern that the city manager is not an elected official and would be making these decisions.
Well, happening today, the Winters council member facing assault weapons charges is expected to enter a plea in court. Richard Casavecchia has a plea deal with the Yolo County DA's office. He would plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of possessing an assault weapon. All of the other charges would be dropped. Carries a 1-year probation period and 100 hours of community service. Council member was facing felony possession charges on whether he illegally owned a pair of AR-15 style rifles. A judge would have to accept that deal during the court hearing today. By the way, the Winters City Council is looking into censuring Casavecchia for the charges. Right now, it's not clear if this will have any impact on his city council seat.
This morning, Stockton police are investigating two shootings that happened just 90 minutes apart. The first happened yesterday afternoon near Sierra Nevada Street. One man was shot and taken to the hospital. The second happened at Henry Long Boulevard near Ridge River Avenue. You can see those locations on your screen. Police tell us a man was hit and he was in his 20s. He is still in critical condition this morning. As of last night, police did not have the motive or suspect description in either shooting. Roseville police arrested a person accused of stabbing two people. That attack happened just after 8 o'clock last night in the downtown district on Church Street and Washington Boulevard. Police say both victims suffered minor injuries. Right now, officers are working to figure out what led to this stabbing. And Roseville police have arrested a man accused of sexually abusing a child while out on bail. Kevin Connell was arrested at the Fresno County Courthouse last week. Investigators say while he was out on bail, he committed a range of crimes, also including fraud and making criminal threats. He was taken to the Placer County Jail and was arraigned this week. Jail records show Connell is not eligible for bail at this time. A Sacramento County judge delivered a 5-month sentence to a former Sacramento postal employee for stealing marijuana that was sent through the mail and then selling it. Shabina Debbie was convicted of stealing 18 mail parcels between October of 2018 and February of 2019. That's a federal crime. She had been working at the Sacramento Main Postal Office. When officers searched her home, they found a number of stolen parcels, including one that had more than 3 pounds of marijuana. She confessed that she stole that marijuana as it was being shipped in the mail. In addition to prison time, Debbie agreed to forfeit more than $125,000 in cash found in her home.
Well, former President Trump is facing a third indictment. Felony charges are related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. KCRA 3's Amy Lou is outside the U.S. District Court in Washington with more on what the former president is accused of doing.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to appear in U.S. District Court tomorrow to answer to 4 crimes: defrauding the government and voters and trying to keep their votes from counting.
Conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
The 45-page indictment outlines the counts against former President Trump for his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
It was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
It outlines an orchestrated plan by the former president and his co-conspirators to replace slates of electors in 7 key states to overturn the election, and his repeated false statements about widespread election fraud. Comments prosecutors allege Republican state officials, Justice Department officials, and the president's own campaign refuted his lies about the 2020 election. President Trump responding Tuesday evening, calling this latest indictment election interference and a corrupt chapter for a weaponized Department of Justice. Special Prosecutor Jack Smith reiterated that this investigation is ongoing. Meanwhile, the indictment lists 6 co-conspirators who have not been charged yet. In Washington, I'm Amy Lou.
Now, a new poll from Gallup is showing that the Supreme Court approval ratings are at a record low right now. A poll conducted last month found that the High Court stands at 40% approval. This coming after recent decisions made by justices on affirmative action, student loan forgiveness, and voting rights. As for specific justices, Americans appear to be divided when it comes to Justice Clarence Thomas and his ethics. 39% view him positively, with 42% viewing him negatively.
New this morning, some California lawmakers are calling on Taylor Swift to use her influence to help end a hotel strike in Southern California.
Atisha Ordaz joins us now with a look at the drastic measure they are suggesting the pop star take.
Tam, Brittany, good morning. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Koulounakis and dozens of state and local leaders have asked Taylor Swift to postpone her upcoming Los Angeles concerts. They say delaying the shows is a way to stand in solidarity with the hotel workers currently on strike. The singer has 6 sold-out shows at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles this week. The first one is scheduled for tomorrow. In a letter to Swift, Koulounakis and others say that the tour makes the region's hotels a lot of money adding that some properties even double or triple what they're charging normally because they know Swift is performing nearby. The letter goes on to say, quote, hotel workers are fighting for their lives. They are fighting for a living wage. They have gone on strike. Now they are asking for your support. Stand with hotel workers and postpone your concerts. Koulianakis, who is running for governor in 2026, is the top official in the state to sign this letter. Others include Assembly Majority Leader Isaac Bryan and State Senators Dave Min and Maria Elena Durazo, along with several mayors from cities in Los Angeles. Teo and Brittany, back to you.
All right, thank you so much.
Meanwhile, Swift is sharing the wealth from her mega tour. She has reportedly given everyone involved in tour bonuses, which total $55 million.
That's so amazing. Yeah,
a great employer.
Giving every truck driver $100,000 while she was in Santa Clara on Saturday. Incredibly generous.
Yeah, that is so
Taylor
cool.
Swift probably makes so much, $55 million. It's not that tough to give away, but wow, it's incredible.
Still impressive.